meant for us to just be here now, right? So letting go of whatever else we've already been doing in our day and those things that are pulling at us, because there's always something, right, that we've still got to do in this day. And we just set that down for now and be here, present in our body. So taking a few breaths and getting into your lower dantian, getting really into your body. And when you feel that, you're just like, it's let the weight of the world go, right? You're just feeling, here you are in your body. This is one of the greatest gifts of Tai Chi, is to develop that practice of being present here and now, while being aware of what's going on in the world, as opposed to retreating into a cave or something. That's nice too, but the realities of the world need us. They need us. It's why we develop these teacher skills as well, and whatever other of our skills are as parents, as family members, as friends, as community members. So first and foremost, it's putting on our own oxygen mask, right? Part of our safety, even as we teach our classes. Getting in the body helps. Being present, let go. Now, from there, since we're online, let's bring some attention to this virtual classroom we're in. So connecting, and we are going to take a moment and do introductions and that, but just energetically, this awareness that we are all here in our Zoom room, in our classroom, and we're going to spend a few hours together. And you can take it out even wider, and just being with that awareness, there is still much that is challenging going on in the world. Maybe that will never end, actually, in the sense that in the Taoist way of looking at things, the yin and the yang, it's always happening, and we're ever striving for balance. But we also get to choose what is our response to what's going on around us, by being in the body, centered, grounded, and focused, as opposed to being just carried away by it. And then we pull our head back up and say, wow, I wasn't really being me, right? So the practices are about how do we be who we really are, and in our natural, loving, kind, gracious way, right? For ourselves as well. Right? So we can feel good, and then we take that out into the world, okay? So I would like our theme, just an overarching sort of theme in this session today, is to remind ourselves of that. Tai Chi is about harmony within, harmony in the world around us. Right? There's this understanding in the Taoist way of looking at things. We are the universe. The universe is inside of our body, and we are part of the universe. There's no separation. It's more of a Western linear way of thinking that says we are separate. We're separate from nature. We've got always these beginning and end points and goals. Tai Chi is about this continuum, the cycles of nature throughout our day, throughout the year, throughout our lives. And it's in those moments here and there. Am I feeling in balance? Yes or no? If not, for sure, come present and practice. And feeling the wholeness, the integration of self, and the practices of Tai Chi aren't really just about an hour or 3 hours or 5 minutes of practice. It's about how does that then ripple out into your whole life. So we've just done a really mini kind of awareness of that. Get in the body and then expand out into your space around you, into your room, whether it's your Zoom room, the room you are currently sitting in right now, right? And then out and beyond into your greater community, out into the world. And that is the essence really of what Tai Chi is about, the supreme, ultimate balance and harmony. All right. So we'll take that with us in our practice throughout, and noticing, where does something feel disconnected, or do I feel in complete alignment in what I'm doing? I don't mean just our postural structure we talk about in the principles. Take that, even that principle out wider as well. Okay. So our purpose in gathering here today is to remind ourselves about the fidelity of the program of Tai Chi for arthritis and Tai Chi for falls prevention. It's really tempting. Just a sec here. I've got someone knocking my door. I usually put a sign outside that I'm teaching. I'll be right back. All right. Oh, then the dog decided she needed to chime in too. Okay. So, it's very tempting to get involved in all of the Tai Chi for health programs, and they're all wonderful. And to some extent, there are concepts and ideas that you might bring into even this TCA program, but it's really, really important to make sure that you are adhering to the TCA program, not mixing. If you want to teach TCR separately. If you want to teach TCD, you know, the whole alphabet, fine. There's no doubt that the underlying lessons in those other programs will start to influence you, and that's fine. But we just don't mix the movements or the key messages that are within the other programs, okay? Teach them separately. Things like Dantian breathing isn't really technically part of the TCA training, and yet that's an important one, actually, and it is valuable to bring the Dantian breathing in when you are getting into more advanced participants. That one would be okay. It's essential in Tai Chi. In TCA, we more so talk about just make sure to breathe, because the really underlying foundation of TCA is the modifications that are for people with pain, stiffness, and in general for people with chronic conditions. Okay. So then we've developed in our own practice. Maybe we participate in a lot of skills development. And maybe we have been taking online workshops with other Tai Chi teachers and including those workshops with Dr. Lam. Maybe we know Tai Chi for Arthritis Part 2, or we've evolved into the Sun 73 forms. That's all great, and it helps keep us not only personally inspired, but also offering more for our participants. Yet, it's really important that we are always clear about who our audience is, who the participants are. So, for example, when you're learning, especially if you go into a depth of TCA workshop and you're learning more about the inner workings of TCA, it doesn't mean you go back to maybe you've got a new class starting and you go right in and you teach it at that level, right? So there's constantly, this is the art of teaching effectively, right? Is that we are aware of who our own audience is and what their needs are. And this is a huge difference from the way traditional Tai Chi is still being taught, is that it's about, what do I know as the teacher? And I'm going to just throw it all at you and, catch me if you can. Maybe you'll figure it out in 10 years kind of thing. Is that we are going to adapt our teaching to where the whole group is at. And the more of these skills we have, the more ability we also have then to bring new people into existing classes, right? Because we start to be more intuitive about, if I mix this component in, then like a principle, right? Then I could have the people who've already been with me practice something more deeply, while more of the mechanics of the moves that a new person is getting, or teach a breathing lesson and the Dantian breathing, because everyone can benefit from that. And when you're new, you simply try to remember to breathe in and out. That's breathing in and exhale as well. While others who have more experience are beyond always thinking about what the moves are, and now they can start to get more deep into how do I actually let the breathing, let the movements flow in a whole body sort of way. So there's one example. So being really aware of this. I've had instructors kind of over the years come back and say, wow, I went to a sort of what's next kind of workshop. And then when I put that in, to my class, people just freaked out. Well, then the question is, what level of participation or participants were you teaching? Maybe it wasn't time yet. And it's never time to dump all of it into one lesson, isn't it? Is it? Because part of our teaching methodology is one thing at a time. And then we're going to practice it together, right? We're going to use our stepwise progressive teaching method, not just in how do we teach one form, but how do we teach an entire set? How do we teach a modification? How do we teach going deeper, right? We offer that one point, and then it's follow me 3 times, and then you have a look, see what you're getting from it, okay? So within our session today, we are focusing on TCA, and for falls prevention, that's really what most of us are teaching, right? And we want to enhance our own skills for sure. But I'd just like to make sure that you have this in your mind is if you took on something new today, play with it for yourself, really get it. And then, I don't know about you, I have lots of notebooks. I'm ever going back in and seeing what could be fresh and new. Of course, our own experience with our participants guides us, but it might be something new you pick up that's the aha you needed for that next group you're going to teach. And it might be something you say, okay, I'll be practicing that. And when the time is right, I'll bring it out for my participants, okay? So what I will be watching for today when we practice, and I will ask our facilitators to help with leading a bit so I can really watch, is positive improvement points. Safety is always first, but really in this group, I assume that you've been already considering that. I want to help all of us ensure that our forms are accurate. Right? Once we've gone through our initial training, now we want to really keep making sure that we are improving, okay? And that we are really staying in fidelity of the program of TCA, okay? No matter what else we've been learning, all right? So I wanted to give us that level set because what I'd like us to do is going to be in 2 parts, a little getting to know you. I like to share the distribution list after every one of our sessions so that you can connect with other people, because especially online, but I think this has always been true. We are all over the place, all over the country, right? And it's nice to be able to have other people you can connect with, and always with our facilitator team for sure, but to keep you inspired and keep you growing as well. So round 1, Judy's going to help us go through the roster. So she's going to ask for someone to go ahead and introduce themselves and who would be getting ready to be next, because sometimes we've got to move a little bit to come onto the mic. And once you're finished, then mute yourself again, please, so it helps keep the interference down. I'm going to ask you to very concisely, no stories, so that we can take a next round, is your name, where you're joining us from. I know some of you did that already a little bit, but it was, before we got started and others were still doing other things. So your name, where are you joining us from? And are you currently teaching? So it'd be quick. I am currently teaching in person or online or both. I want to get a sense of, it'll help me today as well. No stories about it right now. Okay, just to let us get, where's this group at? Once we get through this whole group, then I want to go back around and ask each of you very concisely. I can remind you of this as we get to that second round, but we would like to offer the possibility of breakout group today. And there would be 2 options. Playing with the stepwise progressive teaching method, especially if you haven't taught yet. Some of you are new as instructors, or maybe you haven't taught in a year or something. And it's always good review anyway. The other breakout room would be playing with TCA 2, because some of you know that form, but this group as a whole isn't ready for that to be our practice right now. And so I didn't want to take up a whole session on that one. It would be very uncomfortable for some people, I think. Okay, so choose one of those. You might want to do both, but there will be other skill builders, okay? And concisely, and you could put this in chat if you want otherwise, is there something that's really, wow, please cover this today, or at least address it? Maybe it's a question, but maybe it's something you really would like to clarify in terms of the form or how we teach something, okay? So let's start with the introductions, and I'm going to ask our facilitators to go through quickly. So since Judy's at the ready with the roster, I'll ask Judy to go first. I think you all know who I am, so I won't take up time with that. And you may not all have met all of our facilitators. So Judy, then Terry, then Eileen. Keep that simple, and and then Judy will go through the roster. Thanks so much, everybody.
Okay, so I'm Judy Safarowitz, and I'm located in Tucson, and I was teaching via Zoom, and just a few weeks ago we started in person at the park. Okay, so next we'll move on to Terry and then Eileen. Terry, you're muted.
Okay, so I'm Terry Cruz. I'm joining from Lake Havasu City, Arizona, and I'm currently teaching in person and online classes.
Okay, and Eileen, and after Eileen, we'll go to Susan.
Good morning. My name's Eileen Dunn. I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I teach on Zoom.
Okay, so Susan, and from Susan, we'll go to Robert.
Hi, I'm Susan Cook. I am in Crestview, Florida, and I am not currently teaching.
Okay, so Robert, and then we'll go to Rachel.
Hi, I'm Robert Armstrong. I'm in Tucson also, and I am not currently teaching.
Okay, and Rachel, and then we'll go to Laura.
Good morning. My name is Rachel Mills. I'm in Prescott, Arizona, and I'm not currently teaching.
Okay, so Laura, and then we'll go to Brian.
I'm Laura Carey. I am in Tucson, and I'm currently, I would use the word leading practice for 3 different Zoom classes as opposed to teaching.
Okay, so Brian, and then we'll go to Heather McConnell.
Okay, good morning. I'm Brian. I am coming from Page, Arizona, and I am not currently teaching.
Okay, thank you, Heather. And then from Heather, we'll go to Sally.
Hi, I'm Heather McConnell from Fort Sumner, New Mexico, and I am currently teaching in person.
Okay, so Sally, and then we'll go to Chrissy.
Hi, I'm Sally. I'm in Tucson. I'm currently teaching in person and by Zoom.
Okay, thank you. And Chrissy, and then we'll go to Carla.
I'm Chrissy Kaufman. I'm in Niles, Michigan, and I'm scheduled to start teaching in mid-April in person.
Okay, so Carla.
Good morning. I'm Carla. I am coming in from Cottonwood, Arizona, and I am not currently teaching, but looking forward to getting back into it.
Okay, and I think we got everybody. Yep, okay. Back to Heather.
All right, thanks everybody. So in person, it is starting to open up. I'm being asked more and more as well. Everybody's going to use their own good judgment and the support of whoever is around them, right? That's asking for the classes of what do we need in order to keep it safe for everybody. I'm working with a lot of colleagues in Europe who are experiencing all of the going back into lockdown. And I'm curious, you know, I think that where we can, we teach via Zoom. That may continue for some time. And I can also say that as for the workshops, the instructor trainings, and certainly for these skill builders, our facilitator team, we've talked about this, we will continue because our geographic distances have always been a challenge, and this solves it. It's a way to get us together, help us stay you know, passionate and connected and moving forward. So we're going to keep doing it. So if this is kind of new for you and maybe a little awkward, it's okay. We all get better at it, like everything, as we practice. So Sally, I'm appreciating you have been trying some different things there in your space. so that you can see on the screen and then have space to also move when we stand up and move. And that's what we do. We're all playing around with it. So I hope you'll use this time also for, feel free if you feel like something's not working for you to move a camera, move something around, do what works for you, and we'll support you as well if you want some feedback, because sometimes that's also what we need, is helpers to get comfortable online. All right, so round 2 is, let me know if there's something, again, concise, but that you'd really like to take away from this session today. See if I can get it into the mix, and whether you would like to go into a stepwise progressive teaching method breakout for maybe 25 minutes, half an hour, or TCA2. And then we'll get that set up and ready to go in the breakouts. Has everyone tried it, being on a breakout session before? Experienced? It's like Harry Potter apparating is what I feel like. We whisk away, we come back. Okay, no worries if you haven't. We'll get that sorted out. All right, so Judy, I'll ask you once again. Terry and Eileen don't have to do this round, of course, so from our participants.
Okay, all right, so why don't we start with Susan this time?
I'd like to do the stepwise progressive breakout.
Okay, and then Heather McConnell.
I would like to do the TCA2 breakout session.
Okay, and then we'll go to Robert. And after Robert, I'm sorry, Chrissy.
I will go into the stepwise progressive room.
Okay, and Chrissy, and then we'll go to Carla.
Stepwise, please.
Okay, and Carla.
I think I would love to practice the stepwise.
Okay, Carla, and then we'll go to Rachel. Sorry, and after Rachel, Karen.
I'm interested in doing the stepwise method too.
Okay, and Karen, and then Brian.
Stepwise, please.
Okay, and Brian, and then we'll go to Sally.
I would like the stepwise, please.
All right, and Sally, and then Laura.
Part 2.
Okay, and Laura.
Stepwise, please.
All right, and that's everybody.
Great. Okay, that's perfect. Terry, what I'd like to ask then is you go with Heather and Sally, and I'm going to ask Judy and Eileen to help with the stepwise. I will stay in the main room in case anyone bounces out and we can't get them back in, and then I can, whatever it is that's needed if someone needs to stay. So far, it looks like everybody's bandwidth looks fine, and that sometimes we need the main
Heather,
room. Yeah.
Did you want 2 stepwise breakout rooms?
You know, we could do it that way, actually. Yeah,
Since there's quite a few.
Yeah, let's do. And Terry, just separate out as needed. Let's do. Yeah, that'll work better. And so Judy and Eileen each can take a group, and using, as we did in our training, the single whip, because it's so easy to break it down, but we'll do a little practice all together first. But for some of you, yeah, you're going to get back into teaching. This is great to get some review. So we'll use single whip, and then beyond that, not too much discussion. What you'd find is facilitators. If you have questions, the answer would usually be, let's try that out, right? Rather than talk about it as much as be practice it, okay? And so we've been doing this in instructor trainings. The breakout is where you'll rotate around like we did in the original instructor workshop. Is you'll get to practice being the instructor, being a participant, and also being an observer, practicing positive improvement points or compliment sandwiches, because that's also so important in the success of the teaching methodology. And it takes practice, right, to come up with those meaningful observations, right? Not just that's good or whatever. All right, I think we've got a game plan. Was there, oh, Terry, yes.
Question. Okay, so I've set up a separate stepwise breakout room. Sorry, just the technical part here. Do you want me to go ahead and assign people then, so that everyone doesn't just select the same room?
Right, yeah, I think now
because
that
we have it selectable. Okay.
Yes, yeah,
I'll do
sorry.
that. And how
Is that
long?
easy enough for you to do?
Yes.
Okay,
How
yeah.
long do you want the rooms to be open?
Can you bear with us? Let's do some practice together first, and we'll kind of, I mean, I'm thinking about half an hour, you know, that there's some meaningful time, but I'm not sure yet when we're going.
Okay.
Yeah.
When we're going, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Terry. Yeah. So we'll have 3 breakouts. Yay. All right. Any big questions that anybody wants to, anything you'd really like to make sure we cover? Or it's all good. It's all okay. All right. Okay. What I'd like to do then is let's go ahead and go through the warm-ups. Always a good review. I am often asked, do we really have to do those warm-ups every class? What's the answer? I see heads nodding. Yes. So to the extent that if participants seem bored or you're bored, that would be a cue. It's time to bring some other skill into your warm-ups. They never have to be the same twice, even though the shape of the form, the moves is, right? They're simple Qigong, but your cueing or what you're observing in the participants would cue you into some different things you might offer, right? And then there's any and all kinds of things you can bring in using the Tai Chi principles, as well as working on how do you utilize some of those warm-ups for going into what's the next movement that you're going to be teaching without even telling them that that's what's happening. So it is an art, and it takes some awareness and creativity, and hopefully that keeps it fun even for you. All right, so we'll go through the warm-ups. I'll just leave those, and we can you can ask questions if something comes up after the set, right? Maybe you spot something and say, wow, that's not how I've been doing it, or whatever, clarification, that would be fine. And then I'm going to ask Judy to lead us through first just basic 6. I just want to touch in and just make sure we've got the basics down and see if there's a theme. I don't have time in this session really to reteach as much as I might direct you back to the DVD or the online lesson, whichever way you can review. But there's usually a theme or two that comes out. All right, so let's get ourselves ready. I know some of you may need to reposition a camera, and that's fine. And we'll do our warm-ups together.
And I will go ahead and spotlight Heather, so you do not need to change your view. And there you go, Heather.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm going to change. So what I do is I go back to gallery so I can see all of you. And what you might want to play with if you haven't before is you can have the spotlighted person and also have across the top or the side a limited gallery view. And one reason to do that is to remind yourself that you are on camera. It definitely has helped people avoid doing something peculiar that they wouldn't have wanted everyone else to see because they forgot they were on camera. But it also gives us a nice sense of being together. And I'm also going to mention, for those who may be challenged by smaller screens, is that if you haven't investigated this already, is, for example, I'm here with my laptop way too small for me to see. Once I step back, I wouldn't be able to see everybody clearly. But for $4, I was able to get that cable that connected right to our very simple TV. And that let me open it up to being able to see really large. So there's always a solution. So if you're trying to figure this out, you're thinking about teaching online, or maybe even teaching in person with making online also available to others, being creative and finding new ways to help others take their classes. All right, it looks like in general, I'm missing Heather. There you are. I figured you were there somewhere. You're a pro at this by now. All right, so let's take a moment. Now, when we're teaching falls prevention, really helping people to stand well in a Tai Chi way is really important. reminding ourselves always, if our audience is more in the arthritis, the chronic conditions category, we wouldn't want to stand still for too long. It would be uncomfortable. Sometimes we offer for people, if they don't already pick this up, is they might do the first part of the warm-up seated, because we're really standing for a while. And then when we go to the lower body, they might choose to stand up. But we want to make sure we are doing this for our own practice before we just jump right into moving. Yeah, is settling the feet into the earth, the 9 points of the bottom of the feet, the 5 pads of the toes, big first joint of the big toe and the little toe. Our hands map perfectly in this way. The outer part of the bottom of your foot, not the arch, but that outer blade, and the heels. That we want to make sure, even if physically our toes are twisted and things that, you know, life happening, but there's an awareness. The idea is, while I settle down into my heels, I also have my whole foot well rooted on the earth. Okay, this is part of, it's written in the Chinese of fall, no fall, right? If you really settle into your heels, your feet are also staying on the ground. You're not rocking backwards. You're not going to fall backwards, okay? That we feel that awareness, and that we feel the awareness in the bubbling spring, that soft place behind that ridge of the foot, right? Front of the arch. And we don't have to push it down necessarily, but there's an awareness, okay? And then we want to make our way up the body, feeling the alignment. So let's get the crown suspended by that golden thread from the heaven chi. You might like the North Star. Some people do like that sense of being the skeleton in the biology class, hanging from the rack, but something that lets you feel that your cervical vertebrae lengthen. They really do go up the center of the skull, right? And then that crown of your head is gently being lifted so you can stand tall. Now let's get all the in between. With the feet deeply rooted, as if the earth energy is coming up through the legs, we want to make sure the knees point the same direction as the toes. That's always the case in Tai Chi. Feet are turned out, then the knees come along. Feet aren't turned in for Tai Chi. Relaxed hips. This is called sitting without sitting. We relax the hips, right? It's not push the hips back or forward to relax. This is what's written about as tuck the tailbone, but it doesn't mean this kind of send your whole pelvic bowl forward. It will naturally happen when we lengthen the lumbars by letting the hips relax. If your hips relax, your knees will relax. I like teaching this way because if you say bend the knees, have we all seen this? People really bend their knees and it's too much. And especially for falls prevention, many people that when we're first getting started will not have the strength to sustain that. And anyway, we don't want the knees going out past the toes, right? So just letting the hips relax. And part of this is just good Tai Chi posture. When we let the hips relax, we get that nice arch structure from sacrum down through the legs and feet. If hips are locked, we've got this V kind of shape, if you think about from the sacrum down the legs, and it's not a strong structure, and it doesn't let us be agile for taking our steps, okay? All right, so from there, if you want, because we already stood a little while, if you want to shake it loose, you can do that. Shake your legs, shake your tail feathers. It's a good practice to do because then you can come right back into what we've already established, right? And we just get better and better at dropping right into it. The feet, the rootedness, the soft hips, relaxed knees, the spine is long, right? The lower lumbars, the lumbars are lengthened, relaxed. Then we make our way up, feeling that the thoracic vertebrae, the cervical vertebrae are lengthened. And I'm going to take a moment to really show what I'm talking about with the neck. It doesn't mean, sometimes people really strain but it does mean, think about the cervical vertebrae being long. This is what helps keep from sending the chin back so far that sometimes what people do is actually look down, or they're leaning, they end up leaning backwards. Or it's hard to show with my hair there, I guess, is sometimes what's happening is people are kind of pushing at the top of their head, but the neck is still slumped, right? So it's great awareness that the neck is lengthening, and it's like the bowling ball weight of the entire head gets lifted up a little bit, and it's not so much pressure on the neck. So when we talk about tucking the chin, it's kind of just coming back, and it sends the crown up, and there's like a J shape that's happening, okay? And these kinds of instructions can help if you're really seeing a lot of pushing back too far or ending up looking down. All right, so really important to practice getting a nice strong structure in your standing alignment. All right, and then you can always shake it loose again if you need to. And of course, you might have participants who have a chair handy, right? They've got maybe one hand on the back of a chair or something that's helping them with support. All right, now let's go into the first of the neck warm-ups. Letting the hands be, it's as if they're being drawn up by the wrists with a string from above. Very light, the shoulders are relaxed. As the palms come toward the face, we're gently sending the chin back. Again, that's feeling the cervical vertebrae lengthening, as if the skull is gently being lifted. So here, it doesn't mean we collapse the cervical vertebrae as the hands go forward, but we feel the natural curve. And then as the hands go down, the chin comes down. It doesn't mean the whole head has to come forward. There's a lengthening again of the cervical vertebrae. Really important for falls prevention that people have more awareness of that, the weight of their head and where their eyes are going. What are they looking at? So that when they move the head, move their eyes, they don't lose their balance. And as always, we are breathing in and out continuously. And of course, for our beginners, that's often a really key thing to get people doing, is breathing in and out. Not, oh, I'll get these movements figured out and then I'll breathe. Tai Chi doesn't work that way. It works by being in the body, having the mind calm, and breathing, right? The movements are not as important as being present and breathing, all right? So next for the neck, I like to hold the ball first, make a connection between the hands, and then feel that connection continue. As the lowering hand goes down, it doesn't matter which side we start with. I'm not going to teach mirrored, okay? In the warm-ups, it really doesn't matter. Lower hand as if it's patting the head of a tall dog. Okay, it's not up too close on the body. The raised hand is the top of your fingers would skim under your chin, right? We don't want the hands up in front of the face, okay? And then we're going to turn the neck and start 60, 70% of what we could do. And then back to center with great awareness. This is invaluable, again, for falls prevention. Being able to turn, someone's called your name from behind. Can you turn and also maintain steady balance? Being rooted in the feet, soft hips, soft knees, lets us be more agile than if we're standing all locked up and then trying to turn the neck, the bowling ball weight of the head. So this is an important practice. And with each rotation, seeing if you can go a little bit farther and turning just the neck. The body can start to come along, but we want to make sure we're teaching clearly, especially for beginners, that it's the neck turning, not the whole body. When we know more internally about Tai Chi, yes, our body starts to move a little. All right, coming back to that center line. I like the ball because this does help with this being this crossing center line, integrating right, left. Okay, shoulders, rolling the shoulders. It's internal. All of Tai Chi is really internal. This is a great place to practice that for beginners. Everyone, really, we need the reminder. So it's just now change directions, rolling the shoulders, the joint. The scapula might move, but it's not a big muscle, big kind of movement. And then before we go to the second shoulder warm up, we want to make sure the shoulders have dropped, they've relaxed. As this next movement is the hands bringing the arms along, not the shoulders. Especially for arthritis, for chronic conditions, we don't need the arms to go way up. It can be a very small movement. As if we're gathering up, scooping up some water. And as the palms turn down, hands spill the water, hands slide down the waterfall. We can, for falls prevention, this can be a nice one for getting stronger in the legs. We start to pay attention to this sitting without sitting. So the hips relax, the pelvis sinks down a bit, the lower energy center, the dantian. So it's not pressure in the knees, right? And as we come up, we let the whole body come up. And I'm going to go another one, although we generally just do 3. But we probably won't go through warm-ups again today. This is important because people can see it on the DVD, is that they start to go up and down from the knees. It's really with our intention, we're coming up and down from our dantian, our Tai Chi center, okay? So if you think about it in terms of if you were in water and you're scooping up some water, when we inhale, you can play with this in the bathtub, you will, when you inhale, you will float up. If you're in a pool, a lake, and when you exhale, you will sink. So that can be one way to help people get a little more internal with it and not making this big physical movement that just ends up hurting the knees, okay? Something to play with. All right, next, the spine. As we separate the hands, now I like pointing this one out because we learn other programs. We are by design having that lowering hand coming up the outside, all right? There are other programs where it comes up the inside, but with TCA, even though we're working for falls prevention, we want to be very mindful for people who have pain, stiffness, chronic conditions, maybe recuperating. Right? We want to keep it very, very simple and easy on the joints. The focus is on lengthening the spine. The mere act of separating hands lengthens the spine. But we want to help people also go internal, as is Tai Chi, sending down the tailbone with that lowering hand, raising the crown with the rising hand. And ensuring that we're breathing in and out all the while. So the lower hand, more or less, again, as if it's patting the head of a tall dog. The rising hand, palm is turning up, but we're certainly not going to make anyone get really palm up. That could be very difficult. Let's go one more each side. And if your group, you can see that it's kind of a strain, do less. Model what your group needs, not what you can do. Maybe pain, stiffness, shoulder. The shoulders will get better range of motion with time. But, you know, we're not going to be out there being all stretched out, and our group is really not able to do that, right? We're going to be with what the group can do, okay? Nice. I'm looking across a little bit too, so I can see what you're all doing. All right, the next one for the spine, got our balls, just comfortable. Shoulders are relaxed. Still got my soft hips, relaxed knees, and we just turn. We want the spine to lengthen. So the ball just goes out in front of my hip. I'm not going out past my body with the ball. And then I turn it over. I turn my waist. And that's the first part is, you know, people just getting their hands coordinated is the biggie. Making sure there's breathing going on. This is the big one for sometimes it's nice to teach the whole warm-up set seated so that you can help people get the move first. Now you can also include here weight transfer. I'm pressing down in through my foot on the same side where my hands are. That pressing down also activates up through my leg and torso so that I can rotate. And then I relax the leg, that lets the ball turn over. I'm going to press down same side as where my hands are and feel the connection to my whole body, right? Wholeness of movement. This is useful for falls prevention because we're also strengthening the legs. And it's helping us with the, how does the weight transfer one side to the other when we're doing wave hands? And I'll go to the other side, whatever that is for you, and then we'll come back to center. Okay. To the hips, letting ourselves really, again, checking in. Are you settling down into your feet? Often with falls prevention, when I'm just kind of scanning what's going on with people, is their feet are almost, if they're hovering above the ground, there's not an awareness. Even with for people who have neuropathy, although that in itself may not resolve, awareness of the feet absolutely grows when we're paying attention. Same with the hands. All right, so our feet are settled into the earth. Now we're going to let the weight distinctly sink into one leg so that the other foot becomes free to move. We're going to touch down with the heel, the pad of the heel, not the back corner of it. If we need to for balance, we can touch down in the center and then we touch back with the whole front of the foot. The hands need only be shoulder height, not up above. If we can, we're going to swing all the way through. And it's heel in the front, ball when we touch back. For falls prevention, we might want to add, this helps with placement of the feet, the size of step. Lower the pad of the heel, then the whole front of the foot. Touch back, lowering the front of the foot and then the heel, so the whole foot is down. Let's go ahead and switch sides, deliberately transferring the weight. What you'd be looking for as an instructor, this is a very nice one for getting coordination. So first we've got to get that, but now for falls prevention and size of step is that when I lower my heel, then the whole front of the foot, I want to see that people aren't having to lurch forward or push back or go off to the side with their hip. If that's happening, the size of step's too big for them right now. Right, so this is something that you can make a whole lesson. You could bring it in as a theme. When I touch down the front of my foot and lower my heel, that shouldn't pull me back or cause me to push my hip out to support it. So it's a very deliberate foot placement because this is how we step in Tai Chi, isn't it? When we go into stepping back with our Sun style, same thing. We lower the front of the foot, then the heel, and it should be able to be smooth. And are you already noticing it's strengthening your support leg? So I want to talk about the support leg quickly for falls prevention for everyone that we've got standing. The support leg, no matter what I'm doing, should be able to be comfortable. I'm not bouncing up and down, but moreover, I am not pushing into my hip so that I can move the other leg. And this is something I see a lot. So we want to make sure as instructors, we're really clear ourselves. This is that relaxing the hip, sinking down. It's like you're sitting on a bar stool, right? You're not going way down. You're not having your knee too far forward, but you're not pushing your hip out, okay? And so this is a great exercise, this hip warm up. Second one also is in the same way, is that we want to get used to sending the weight down, not pushing it out to the side or forward or back. And then when we step out, it's just very comfortable. Hands stay in front of the body. This imaginary wall we're pushing against, shoulder out through palm, and we're not actually going to move the wall. It's just there's an awareness there. Come back in and we'll switch sides, right? When we're teaching from the beginning, it's just hard for people to coordinate the movement and breathe. So we just sort that out. but then we can go deeper. We touch down with the front of the foot, lower the heel. That's what we do in wave hands. And again here, I should not see then by lowering my whole foot, I pushed the other hip out, or I leaned back, or I lurched over. This will help people really, even before you tell them you're going to teach wave hands, you could start to add this. So there is more awareness of the stepping, of the foot placement, of weight transfer. Okay, and usually before that, you're addressing that the shoulders being brought up, and the elbow is coming up, and those things that are otherwise going to be uncomfortable for people. But then when you're ready, you can add a bit more about this, how to make use of these exercises for lower body strengthening. That's not happening if people are out of alignment. And odds are then they're in their head, just trying to address that something feels uncomfortable and maybe even painful. Okay. All right, down to the knee. So our Tai Chi fists, right? I can use our Tai Chi binoculars. Maybe we've got there's lots of little finches around in my yard these days, little tiny guys. So something that reminds us to keep the fist open, thumb on the outside, right? And that we're releasing if there's any tension in the fist. And for many participants, they might discover that is where they carry tension. So again, sinking weight into one leg. It doesn't cause me to lean over, right? I sit into the one leg, so my other foot is free to move. I can pick up the leg, touch down with the front of the foot, and come back. So as we know, we're going to keep touching down as long as that's what our group needs. Even if on our own we're doing, a Tai Chi kick, it's got to be steady and stable, even at our own practice. But we might get to where we can evolve to hovering. But again, here you're watching for that it's not happening by pushing the hip out. Now we're not strengthening the support leg, right? Or it's not happening by leaning back or even leaning forward into it. Oh, look, I can keep my foot up. It's really not about that. It's can you be in alignment and strong from the inside and have your foot up. Okay, so whatever it is you want to do on this next round, we're moving the knee and we are stable and steady. That looks all very nice out there. And then with the weight transfer, great place again to feel this alignment, like from your crown all the way down through your foot or your support leg. And we're going to place the foot, heel to ball. And pour the weight. You don't have to pour all of your weight, but making sure that the knee isn't coming out past the toe, and we'll pour the weight back and step back. And making sure we're breathing. This usually brings an exhale here as the arm goes out, and an inhale. Now, if we turn our support leg foot out a little bit, like we do as we open our Tai Chi, and your weight's there, notice if you rotate, it's like the spiraling kind of thing, down into the support leg. If you just let it happen, you don't have to try. And then you place your foot stepping forward as we do, and as you pour the weight, see if that rotates your torso. This is very nice to bring in before you're teaching parry and punch, because it helps people start to experience how, with the ducky feet thing going on in parry and punch, how you can keep pressure off the knees and the whole body movement can happen. Are you feeling that? How the body does naturally rotate? Let's do one more each. And as we come back, we rotate into that rear leg. The foot is turned out a little bit. So we step back, turn the foot out just a little bit. Feel the rotation. Again, this isn't what you're teaching the first time out with people in the warm-ups. It's something for later. And to the ankles. Again, this is a nice place for paying attention to foot placement. It shouldn't be causing someone to come out of alignment. But this also, isn't this what we do when we do play the lute? Right? So making sure that it's something more than just, you know, mindless wagging around, but it's also very powerful for calming the mind and getting into the body. If your thinking mind's all the way down there on your ankles, you're not going to be thinking about what you're going to buy later at the grocery store, or what you're making for lunch. And then the inside, outside. Liz, nice to see. Okay. All right. Just brief then, are there any burning questions about warm-ups? Then we're going to run through the basic 6. Anything that you might have seen or you're just not sure about that you'd like clarification? So main thing is then, Chrissy, yeah, let me come back to just a sec because it popped in my mind. The main thing is you're making them your own in that your participants' needs, right? And where are you evolving into? What movements are you teaching next? How can you utilize the warm-ups to help people feel a wonderful sense of accomplishment, right? Because you do them every class. So there's that. And then how can you utilize them to build in new skills? So there's not just one way. Like I shouldn't see you teaching exactly like you saw on the DVD every class if I were a fly on the wall, right? It's making them your own, but staying within the program, not teaching them as some other wild Qigong forms or, you know, going way out here as Qigong might look, and none of that, not bringing in other exercises into the warm-ups, but yet within there's a lot of flexibility. Chrissy.
Just one real small thing that I wasn't sure about was the knee, and you said it, but I can't remember. Knee warm-up number 1 for people who cannot, I anticipate my group will not be able to lift their leg. So how do I cue the foot? Was it toe down and heel? Does the heel stay off the ground? So if they can't lift their leg to kick, how do I cue the foot placement when they're punching?
Right. Okay. And that'll bring up another nice point. So ideally, so you might find they're going to need a chair, first of all. So there might be that, is that they're going to use a chair. Because what we want is people to be stable, not, oh, look, I can get my foot up. You know, it's, so there might be that you're using a chair. But what we're going for in TCA is we're going to touch down with the front of the foot, and then the fist will deliver. And I wouldn't get too specific, especially in the beginning teaching. What's your main thing you're wanting? Well, this is a knee warm-up. So we're not going to talk all on and on about what the arms are doing. Sometimes I don't mention it at all until someone asks. That's part of how we use our stepwise progressive teaching method to build in repetition. If there's a question, now you can show that specific thing because it means people are ready for it. Oh, let's try that. You know, follow me 3 times, right? Then you have a look. So in TCA, it's touching down with the front of the foot. Okay. What you can add though, when your focus is falls prevention, and you might do 3 of each on each side, or you might mix it up. Again, this can help people. Oh, I was getting a little bored with that. Oh, she's done something different. But the way we naturally walk is we land with our heel first. And then we would lower our foot. So you could do 3 rounds where you lower the heel and come back. You could do 3 rounds where you touch the front of the foot down, because isn't that more of how, if we're going to walk up some stairs? So there's, you know, there's a different intent. And then you might do 3 where you touch down the heel and lower the foot and come back. But you might have done that with the hips. So, you know, there's just, think about different ways that why are we walking around? What are we doing? And for many, especially if you're really going to work with seniors or people who have had a stroke, etc. They may be coming out of shuffling. And there's just not much awareness. So even if these little simple things are easy for you, it doesn't mean they're easy for everybody. And I mean, I can share even my own sister who's younger than me, these are not easy for her. She's really realized, she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so disconnected from my body. She's in her head all the time. She's a public health nurse. Like, that's a stressful job. And so this is not just for seniors. Is so many people are in their thinking heads all the time and they're not in their body. Yeah, so there's all kinds of goodies we can do. But I see you nodding, Chrissy. I think we've got it. Good. Okay. All right. Any other questions specific to the warm-ups? For those who have been kind of out of it a little bit through COVID, was this helpful? Just to do them together? Okay, I see some heads nodding. All right, so I'm going to ask Judy to lead us through basic 6. Not that you have to be watching her per se, but what we do, for those who haven't joined us before in one of these kind of sessions, is it gives you someone you could peek to, because she'll get spotlighted when we're going to get started here. And she's going to say the name of each form. So it kind of gives a tempo, and she'll be rear facing, so that we're not mirroring. You can just follow along if you need to. And you know basic 6, but maybe it's been a while. So I'm just going to be watching for, is there a theme we could run through a little, any tidying up. We don't have lots of time to totally follow stepwise in this way, but just to touch in, okay? And then we'll take a quick little refresh break, get our eyes off the screens, okay? So Eileen, if you would go ahead and switch it to Judy, and get yourselves as best you can in your places where now I'm just going to be watching you to see what I can offer for skills improvement. And it looks like we're ready, Judy. So go ahead and start when you're ready.
Okay, so nice deep cleansing breath. And we'll begin on the inhale with the commencement form. Open hands and close hands. Single whip to the right. The transition into wave hands and clouds to the right. Open hands and close hands. Single whip to the left. Transition into wave hands and clouds to the left. Open hands, close hands, close in Tai Chi.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Judy.
Thank you.
Very nice. Yeah. All right. As expected, you know your basic 6. So I'm going to just give a theme rather than take the time to practice. And I am going to, this video will be available to all of you, so you'll be able to review, because we're covering a lot, much like we do in our 2-day training. It's really a lot in a short amount of time, And the goal is it's giving you lots of items that you can then, sprinkle into your classes over time. So hands in general with Sun style, but particularly with this TCA program, we want to make sure we're not obscuring vision, and also that it's very comfortable in the frame of the body. So the hands, if you just kind of think about that, your fingertips should not be up in front of your face, that they would always, I'm not saying bring your hands in right at your body, but they would be below your chin. And one of the nifty kind of things about our anatomy is if you just let your elbows be floppy, your thumb tips will hit in the kind of divot at your shoulder joint area, which is more or less beginning and end of the lung meridian. It's kind of interesting, but that's about the level of the hands. And it's a little tricky on the cameras to be sure that I'm seeing what I think I'm seeing. But, there are cases where I'm seeing, particularly wave hands, it looks like the hands are up a little high. Okay, so if you think I'm not talking to you, I might be. So my request would simply be, as always, get yourself filmed sometimes. Are you really doing what you think you're doing? You can watch yourself in a mirror, the reflection in a window or something, but it kind of takes your focus off. It's really nice if you just put your phone somewhere and film yourself, and then you can take a look at it. No, you can always dump it. But in general, okay, so we're not going to go through the forms and practice with that. But what I do want to touch on is single whip. And it's the do what he says, not what he does in the DVD. Is when we are teaching people TCA and they're not experienced yet, we want to teach that step we take is a small amount with the foot forward, a small amount out to the side, not the diagonal step. And here's why. When we step on a diagonal without great body awareness, one, we may go out too far, remembering it's only a 60–70% weight. But when people separate their hands and turn their waist, they tend to pull in the knee, and it hurts the knee. Okay, so until people have more awareness of the whole body, all the parts moving together, but more importantly, that we are the wholeness of Tai Chi movements come from the inside, because of our rootedness, because the crown is up, and because we're breathing, and that we know that the movements really are all governed by moving from center. But that takes time. So what we're asking is when you're first teaching, and for as long as you see there's need, is that you would model it, is that your single whip is a very small step forward and to the side, and you pour weight, 70%, palms turn away, and then when we turn the waist, it's very easy. The goodies of the movement are this experiencing this rotation from the Tai Chi waist that supports the separating of the hands. And the hands then don't go out too far, right? If you're doing this diagonal thing, you'll tend to see more of this. It's just completely disconnected movement. And we're wanting as early as possible to help people experience what is an authentic Tai Chi movement. Everything's working in harmony. So I'm not surprised when I see the diagonal still, because when we go back to the DVD, that's what we see, but it's what we hear Dr. Lamb talk about. But really, that's one area on the DVD. If he could just wave a magic wand and kind of put that in, he would ask. And so he's been asking us for years now, is please really emphasize that. So let us practice that together 3 times. I really want to get it to sink in. It's not easy, because when you are very competent in your basic 6 and you're on into part 2, you're doing it probably on the diagonal. But you may also have people who they can come along with you into part 2, but they don't have the strength or awareness to go on the diagonal. You'll want to also empower them to stay with that modified step. It's okay, right? it's similar to when we're doing brush knee, and we've got all kinds of different ways we could move the feet. But eventually you'd like people to be strong enough and have the awareness enough that before you go into part 2, you could show them how to do the stepping the way Sun style is done. And that's all, you can get that out of the DVD as well. So let's go through. I'm going to do it with you, and I'm going to ask Judy and Terry and Eileen, you can be mindful as well. I'll be asking you for just some input, okay? So I'm going to talk us through, I've more or less shown you what I'm looking for, and although we generally would show it, that one usually ends up, you kind of have to front face to show it. All right, so having said that, let's follow me, please, or let's do this together 3 times. My weight goes into the left leg. And again, we're watching here for sitting down instead of pushing the hip out. And I'm going to really pay attention now to allowing my foot to come up and just out to the side and forward, just a small amount. Heel first, lower the whole foot, and then pouring just 70% of the weight. And then allowing my arms to expand, shoulder, elbow, wrist, palms turn away. And then we'll turn the waist. And let the hands separate. Let's come back. So what I did there, I'm not reteaching the whole movement. We're going to break it down in the sense, or using stepwise based on a positive improvement point. But you want to make sure you still break it down into smaller parts to teach the form. All right, weight into the left. Notice, can you feel that when you allow the weight to sink down into the left leg, your body will rotate toward the right, your torso? That also allows an ease of heel coming up on the right foot. There's a little turning on the front of the right foot. It's easy to pick it up and place it, heel through ball. Notice as you pour 70% of the weight into the right leg, there's a roundness in the way the weight transfers. So now your hands are toward the right side of your body a bit. They're not center line. And you're very comfortable in your right leg. There's still awareness in the left. And we'll let the arms extend forward, palms turn away. And as we turn the waist, we're looking at the left hand, but we can see the right hand. And let's come back. As if we finished open and close. It should be very easy to bring your right foot back. If it's not, the step was too big. All right, let's go one more time. Really paying attention to the weight transfers, how they facilitate ease of step, ease of movement, whole body movement. Okay, and let me have a look, please. Just going through it one single whip, letting me have a look. Our emphasis right now on not that big diagonal step, very small step. Go ahead. Right. You comfortable with that? It's a little bit hard to see some of you. I'm not seeing your lower body enough to know how it's going, but I think we get the point of it. Okay, it looks like this also will help if you're seeing people who the rear heel comes off the ground. One thing you can offer them is to pay attention and put the heel down, but it's often indicative of that the step is too big and their weight is coming maybe way more than 70%, or there's just, it's not connected yet in the movement. These are the things that help us build in repetition instead of just add the next form, add the next form, add the next form, and people don't really have it, not only in memory, but it's not really integrated in their body yet. All right, not that it's required, but if any of our facilitators have a positive improvement point or an observation from the 3 practice run-throughs that we just went through. Terry.
Here we go. Just one thing that I thought was really helpful that you were explaining is the support leg. As you pour your weight into the support leg, there's that little bit of rotation. And what I'm kind of seeing is that if you can go into that little rotation, it helps keep the posture upright. Whereas if we're just kind of stepping, we tend to lean a little bit. So that was just kind of an observation. I thought that was a really good help for people to just rotate into that as opposed to stepping and leaning.
Yeah, good. Thanks. Thanks, Terry, for that observation. Yeah, you know, again, it's not necessarily how you teach when you're first breaking down the movement into 3 parts, but pretty quick you want to be able to get this. It's the whole body movement. It's integrated. If we stay for a long time with just teaching the footwork, then teaching the arms, and kind of just put it together by practicing, it doesn't necessarily mean it integrates. And if you can, the sooner you can offer this kind of, I'm going to exaggerate it a little bit, but sinking down. Do you see how even so it's like I spiraled down, and even that it's allowing my foot, the front of my right foot is turning, and it's so easy then to pick it up, right? And then pouring the weight. It's literally ultimately what happens is the whole single whip forms like a circle from the hips, right? I've come from, it's like it turned here. I'm going to turn my waist, and by the time I then come in to go into wave hands, I completed my circle. But not trying to make that happen. It's allowing the whole body to be rotating around this central axis line, and it switches based on where's your support leg. This is true throughout all your forms, so something to play with. But it does help single whip become something where people aren't leaning and torquing their back, okay? All right, good. Let's take 5 minutes to just refresh, get some water if you'd like, get your eyes off the screen, okay? And then, because the time always flies, let's do the breakout sessions.
Okay, and I just wanted to mention when we come back from our break, and maybe come back a minute earlier, if anybody wants help adjusting their camera so they can be seen more and get some more positive improvement points, I'm happy to just help with that. Okay.
Yeah, that's a great point, Eileen. Let's spend a little time on it, because sometimes it's just a matter of like, I'm actually going to make a little adjustment. I'm trying something new today myself, and I'm going to put a little box under my laptop. I've tried using my camera being on a tripod because I'm using a webcam, and that wasn't working for me. It's not as quick for me to make adjustments. And sometimes it's the bringing your camera somewhere else as opposed to, oh, I just don't have enough room, can make all the difference in the world. Or just sending your camera back just a little. And it's just amazing how it doesn't mean you have to have a bigger room or anything. So yeah, let's do that. So I have, by my clock, it's 20 minutes after the hour, wherever you are, whatever hour that is. So at 25 after, let's be ready to go. And we'll take a few minutes to play with the camera settings if you want to, or positioning, okay?
I didn't get to finish a sentence. So I can say I saw you guys and saw your positive improvement points that look great.
Yes,
it went by really quick.
Back in. Yes, it did. It did. It went by too fast. Oh. Let's see.
All right. Looks like everyone's back in here with us. Welcome back. Sounds like it was fun. I see yeah, it goes fast. There's a timelessness, isn't there, to Tai Chi? It's part of the being present. It opens up spaciousness. Then we come back into the real world. I'm like, wow, it was just like a flip. Let me ask though, Eileen, I'm gathering you wanted to make, you were finishing a comment. We've taken to doing a short return from breakouts because when you give a minute, everybody stops and it's like that minute could have been used. So we just make it quick. So we have just under an hour to practice. So I'd like to have, if there's some concise, Eileen, maybe there's something you're wanting to finish there, but otherwise from the facilitators, and then otherwise, if there's any, you know, did it bring up more questions, or was there an aha? Because those are fun to share with everybody.
We had a really good group, and I did get to finish my sentence, but we're wondering, Judy, I mentioned the handout that we've been using in training that lists the 8 steps. And I'm wondering if maybe we could send that out to people or have that available before we leave today in a chat so people can download it again.
I'll go ahead, and it's actually, I was thinking with this group, I'm going to send out what I've taken to sending for the online workshops, the kind of it's like a manual in a way, and then it's in there and it's really broken down. So I'll send that out. It's really helpful to have something handy, and I formatted it to where you could just print the page. Okay, and Judy, if you have it handy, feel free to put it in the chat, because it'll probably take me till, you know, Monday afternoon or maybe tomorrow, I don't know, to get that out to everybody. But it's a lengthier document that just, you know, just giving more support and helping people ease back into teaching, and some food for thought, and to work in progress. So yeah, great idea, Eileen. The checklist is handy. You know, when you're teaching, if you're not so comfortable yet with all those 8 components of stepwise, it's okay to have that list handy. You're not trying to fool anybody that you're teaching, that you've been doing this forever and you know everything about it, right? Let's see, who was, oh, Laura, she needed to leave. She said, you know, I'd say I'm practice leading right now as opposed to teaching. That's completely okay. If you are a certified instructor, and I think particularly within our health and public health kinds of programs, I mean, yeah, you know, ideally you're going to get to where you're really saying you're a certified instructor. You want to go with that. But if you need a little space first to say, I'm just leading some practice, you can do that. Whatever can help you feel comfortable and get teaching and get your confidence level up, it's totally fine, right? But you know, whatever kind of cheat sheet, if you will, or tools you can come up with that help you, that's great. And the quicker you can have participants who just, they're on board, they're enjoying, it doesn't all have to be perfect, but they're into it as well, then you've got some people you can start to consider, can they help you in your class? Not teach, but can they assist you? Could they lead a group while you lead another group because you've grown so large, or something like that? Not teach, but just help people practice while you attend to something else. And eventually such folks that are willing to do that are the ones that might say, I'd be interested in becoming an instructor. You know, I'm going to share it now because it comes to my mind. I welcome input and ideas as well. I've been asked by I'll say consortium for now, and in Arizona this could really have big implications quickly, but I think for all of us, is I have just established a not-for-profit organization for really this dedicating to training and the ongoing training needs for instructors, and to bring funding to that, because all too often, even if there's funding, it's only for the upfront initial training. And all of you know that's not it, is it? I mean, that's like, it's an entry point. It's not an end point. And too often it's, you know, it's not understood that way. And I've been looking around lately, of course, with COVID, lots of online courses. There are even ways to get certified by only watching videos. Never any actual in-person instruction or feedback. I don't have any sense what that would really look like, to go out and be an instructor, other than over the years, I've had people eventually come to classes saying, you know, I thought I could just teach that way because like in my little town, we needed something. And that they realize on their own is it just isn't sufficient, especially if your participants are out there on YouTube and whatever, and they're starting to learn some things. You still don't have to pretend you're an expert, but I really emphasize this program will equip you to teach very, very effectively authentic Tai Chi. It doesn't mean it's super deep Tai Chi, but it's the results that is why Tai Chi is being so sought after. This is one of the key programs that brought the scientific evidence into the world. So there are many a deep Tai Chi practitioner who couldn't teach what you teach. They aren't trained to do so. And unfortunately, too many of them, their ego won't let them take a program like this. And so I say this in not to compare to others and criticize or anything, is to empower you. You really have a program that works, and it takes time to become really proficient at it. And like anything that we become really good at, we weren't born being good at it, right? We learned and we practiced and we kept at it. And so the only way you're going to get good at it is just start teaching. And so it's lovely if you have really, there's kind of two camps, the trusted friends and family people who will really support you, but there can also be, it's just as easy to have people you don't even know. Let's just start teaching in the public. They don't know. You know, it's easy to think, oh, they'll know I don't know that much. Most people, really almost everyone on the planet still doesn't actually know what Tai Chi is. Right. But there's interest. Oh, I've heard about it. I heard it might be good for me. Well, all those things they're hearing about through the media is because of programs like this. It's because of the Harvard Medical School's book about Tai Chi and the health benefits. And whilst that's great, they don't have a program. So you can't, I mean, they've actually created a little online program you can buy, but there aren't instructors being certified. There aren't classes you can find. So we have something really powerful here. And the way you can grow for yourself is to be teaching and getting other people. I don't mean like bludgeon people over the head. I often have to coach people in this. Become an instructor. It doesn't work that way. They'll want to when they watch what you're doing and you're sharing with your humble way of what's your journey been, right? Because they still think that people will say, how could I be an instructor? So part of the messaging that I'm working on for the not-for-profit is including different audiences. And one of them is the legacy, the people who are retired and they really still have a yearning to make a difference in the world, doing something. Maybe their career was satisfying on some levels, but doesn't feel like it was their legacy work. And I'm really watching this as a very powerful place to reach people who are interested, and the messaging, how to make that connection for, you know, they wouldn't necessarily think when they've never played Tai Chi before that they could also become an instructor. So our invitation into the classes for their own health and well-being, but also that there is a pathway for being able to make a difference in your community, is a really powerful message. And I'm working with some colleagues on that, is because we can market that. And I want to be able to provide support in that in our communities so that you're quickly not on your own. It's why our facilitation team here also is committed to continuing to offer these online skill builders, and we're open to suggestions. I mean, I bet we could spend 3 hours on the stepwise progressive teaching method because we do it so quickly. It came to me, well, I was just playing some Tai Chi while you were away, is we really could make an entire workshop on that because it's not offered that way anywhere. And to just drill with it, play with it, you know, and practice. So anyway, with the not-for-profit, this is part of it, is to build different messaging in and outreach for how can we get those people in our communities to come and play with us. Because if you're the only instructor where you live, it's hard to grow your program and it's hard to keep your inspiration up as well. And yet I'll have people say, oh, it's already saturated. You know, there's 2 people in my town. Until there's a class everywhere for everybody, every hour of the day. And even at that, you know, you want to keep it intimate. You don't want to have 80 people in the room if you can help it. And the only time we've been close to that, I always had 2 or 3 other instructors with me. If it was something where they, you know, really gotten the word out, we needed more instructors. So it's, you know, it's not competition. If you have other people around you, it will grow your program. And if there are other Tai Chi teachers, there may well be, very often they're teaching, but they're not trained to teach. And frankly, very often what I find out, if I dig a little deeper, yeah, they have some Tai Chi experience. And it may not be as much as they think it was. So you can even find ways to reach out to such folks and collaborate, because you may even be reaching different audiences. You know, somebody who's maybe retired in a small town and played Tai Chi for a long time and isn't trained in teaching it, maybe never thought about teaching it, but retired and said, well, I want to keep playing, so I got to find some other people to play with. They don't even care about the kinds of folks we want to reach, where we're willing to modify. We're willing to, I mean, everybody is welcome. It's inclusive. It doesn't matter how long it takes. We're not in a rush, because Tai Chi isn't about that. It's a lifestyle practice. So there are just ways to be able to reach out into communities and even enlist other individuals. I was one, I'd been playing Tai Chi for decades. And that was when I got my first trainings with master trainers. They said, oh, you see the difference. Yes, I do. I mean, I'm also a public health professional. So I saw it. This is a program we can really do something with. And in my depth and breadth of Tai Chi, yeah, it's taught as appropriate in different settings. But when we take this program into the public, I don't ever advertise it as TCA. It's Tai Chi for health. Because, you know, otherwise people just self-select out. Well, I don't have arthritis, or I don't want anyone to know I have it, or I'm not at risk of falling, or, you know, so I'm not going to go because I don't want anyone to know I think I might fall. So do what you need to do. I mean, Laura was with us earlier. We started in her community with calling it a program for balance. And we went at it with from balance, just balance in your life, but also with that idea of falls prevention. And then we explained a bit about what the program would be on the brochure. And down at the bottom, it was specific about what the program is and with the logo, because that way you're also picking up on people who have somehow or other stumbled upon the program, maybe online, or depending on where you live, there may be people who have they've fallen away from it for time because the Arthritis Foundation used to run the program. And they were the really early adopters in this country 15 or more years ago now. And so there are people out there who have experienced it before, but then maybe there was no instructor around them. And for those who don't know, Tai Chi for arthritis, why is it called that, right? Or maybe don't recall from your training, is that's just where it all started, because Dr. Lam really has thrived in life despite having arthritis since he was a teenager. And so by building a program that and then it was being adopted around the world. It was the Arthritis Foundation that first picked it up. But about, I'm trying to remember now, 6 years ago, maybe, Arthritis Foundation made a big shift to get back to their roots of research and information dissemination. So they are absolutely still friends, fans, all of it. And they will promote your classes, by the way. You can see on Arthritis Foundation website how you can give listings about your classes and be part of that. But they stopped running the workshops. They used to actually commission workshops to train instructors in the area. So I can tell you in Arizona, there are lots of people who have been exposed to the program, but then if it didn't continue in the area, maybe it dropped. And so, you know, these can be kinds of folks who may very well be interested in picking it back up again. Okay, so the more the merrier. The more people you have in your town, the more it will grow, the more it'll challenge you to grow into TCA2, you know, eventually SUN 73, and going deeper as well. And I'm also open to that, teaching a depth of the TCA as a workshop. Dr. Lam used to come around. We've hosted him twice in Arizona to teach that workshop. He'd travel in the fall. And of course, none of us know how that's going to play out anymore. So master trainers will take that on more and more. And actually the last time we did it in Arizona, Terry, Judy, Eileen, the number of you were there with us. We had 5 master trainers there because we all just love to come together and play. So there are lots of possibilities, and we want to hear from you about that as well. But in terms of the not-for-profit, I'm throwing this out here because I have come to understand there really are funds available for growing our programs, but we've got to route the funding usually to not-for-profit organization, and then our dedication to. I have a lot of background in training and development as well as distance learning, and I'm really wanting to see how we can use this time to run with this program and grow. So whether you know anyone who likes to help be involved in the not-for-profit, because there's the whole organization of it. And then the funding sources. And I'm trying to enlist, and I have some already, people who are really adept at grant writing. And, they take time. Grants take time, and people who write grants, their schedules get booked, often 2 years in advance with things that they know happen every year. And so we need people who are, like Eileen's been on the lookout, and it's so wonderful. And then we're enlisting people, because grants don't get written overnight. Winning grants really take time, and yet it's possible. So I think with these kinds of efforts, we're all going to be able to to work together to make something really special happen. I personally really want to make a big impact in helping instructors continue to be instructors, right? It doesn't stay with you if you feel too all alone and aren't getting necessarily the results that you would like to see. And so I really want to make a big impact there. And I welcome everyone to come and play. So I've created a website, or the URL, but it's just going to my website right now, but it's called Step by Step Tai Chi. The not-for-profit is called Step by Step. And I didn't call it Tai Chi for Health Institute, or any of those things that we can't be like head-on competing with Dr. Lamb's content, which I'll say it now too. You're teaching online. You are not permitted to be broadcasting classes teaching the program. Leave that to Dr. Lamb's online courses. You are able to teach online to your participants in your community. The idea would be they are people you could reach when we can get back in person. They may well be people that are elsewhere because they travel. They spend half the year one place or another, or we've got a case where an instructor moved. Well, of course, our participants want to keep playing with her. But it's meant to be that it's intimate, that you can see your participants. You're not doing webinar formats, this kind of thing. And if you're going to go out in the parks and that, it should not be called TCA. Just leave it as Tai Chi for Health, because TCA wasn't really designed for being outdoors. It's meant to be in a very safe, well-monitored, controllable environment, right? For people who are perhaps at fall risk, pain, stiffness, etc., where outdoors in the sun, the breeze, unstable ground, etc., would not be conducive to their overall well-being. So it doesn't mean you can't go outside, but think about the safety considerations. Okay, and I'll just keep being in touch. So let me briefly hear from anyone who would like to make comment. Judy has shared the file now for Stepwise. Thanks, Judy. Just your quick takeaways from the breakout, including if it just while it's really top of mind, if it says here, I'd really like to do more on that on another occasion. Nothing that's really standing out. Did we have fun? Yeah, enjoyable to have a little more kind of lasering in. Okay, good. All right.
I would like to say, Heather, this is Carla. It was very helpful to me to do the stepwise because I haven't taught in a year. And even reviewing the books and going over all the handouts that I have, it brought it all back to, oh yeah, I've got to start at this point and work back into it.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Carla. Yeah, there's really an old saying with Tai Chi and Qigong, which Tai Chi is Qigong, by the way, but is you do it, you get it. You have to do it. No amount of listening, watching, reading books will get it. You have to do it. So you must have your personal practice, and ideally you would. It's for your own enjoyment, your health, right? And then teaching is the other part of the art, is you do it and you'll get it. So give yourselves permission. I give you permission to be perfectly imperfect. As you, whether you need that. Yeah, whether you, well, and so many people are perfectionists, let that go. That's part of what Tai Chi teaches us. There is absolutely no such thing as perfection. What, I mean, that's like what, death. I mean, there's always room for improving anything. Or like music. I mean, something may seem like, oh, they played perfectly tonight, and it'll be different next time. It's inevitable. We are never the same twice, but ever again, right? And so ourselves, the time of day, the conditions we're practicing, all of that, it's part of what keeps it fresh and alive. And that's, again, Tai Chi isn't just when am I practicing these moves, it's life. And so, yeah, we take that. So, you know, perfectly imperfect as you go out there and start teaching again, and it'll all flow and evolve, you know. So anything else anybody want to add in, Terry?
Well, you know, my group, we didn't do stepwise. We just played and practiced, and I had a really good time with it. We talked a little bit about a couple of little fine points in leisurely Tai Chi and talked a little bit about brush knee, but we just had a great time. So I just wanted to share that. I thought that was fun.
Yeah, yeah. Good. That's the thing. That's why we'd like to do, you know, continue with the online, because it just does us good to connect in and get to play. Just 2 weekends ago, we had a workshop with, it was all TCA2 and seated TCA. And, you know, for many of the participants, they were recertifying, and it was just a great opportunity to come out and play with other people as well, because they've been teaching in isolation the whole last year, or simply practicing on their own and not teaching. So good. Let us play some more. I'd love to do warm-ups again, but if we do that, then we don't get much practice time. So we will, yeah, we will imagine we've done them, and very gently, lightly. What I'd like to do, Terry, would you mind leading? I'd like to watch. Let's use, in a way, the basic 6. I'm not saying do this in your classes, but use the basic 6 like your warm-up, just very slow and gentle, and then go on into extended 6. And that, I'll be watching all of it. I'll be looking for themes, and we'll spend a bit of time though with particularly the extended 6. Usually it becomes, like I did single whip, probably brush knee will be something we'll want to play with. So Terry, if you would lead. And so we did before with Judy, where she's back facing. So Terry, I'll watch for her. Is everybody ready? So I can tell you. And she'll call just the name of the forms, just to help set a tempo. So best you can, kind of stay together. It's easier for me to watch as well. And then you won't be done 3 minutes before everybody else. And then when we're complete, if you're not hearing me say anything yet, it's because there are people who aren't finished yet. And please, you know, be a little mindful too. If you like going really, really slow, is you know, maybe not right now, because we'd like to move along as well. So follow Terry's tempo. Terry likes to go slow too, so this is a challenge for her to, yeah, a moderate tempo. I love to go really slow too. The slower you can go, the more depth and richness you'll feel in your forms, or you will feel where there's disconnect. You go too fast, it's easy to skip things. When you've really got the depth and richness and you go faster, then you go, oh, I need to practice more, because the wheels started to fly off, you know. So this is just like people who play musical instruments. You know, you vary the tempo to see, have you really got it embodied? All right, so Brian, when you step back a few steps, I think we'll get you, because I can't see your head at all, but I've been watching your space there. Yeah, you've got room. I don't know if you have room side to side. You figure that out, but it's nice to be able to see you. Rachel, yeah, we lost you there. We had you a little more in camera. So take a second if you need to.
And yeah, Karen, if you can get fixed up like we were in the workshop, that was great, in the breakout room.
Oh, so you found a happy spot there. Okay. All right. So I'm watching. Terry's spotlighted now. If you want to do a little tap where you're still with a little gallery view for feeling like you're with friends, do that. And basic as your warm up, just slow and easy, and then extended 6 as well. Have fun.
Okay, extended 6, both sides.
Yes, please. Yeah, let's just for practice as much. Yeah. If you're not comfortable with extended 6 to both sides, just do what you can. And if you want to, you can also closed Tai Chi and watch, and that's okay too. All right. Okay, Terry, we're ready. Go ahead.
Okay. Settle in, feel your connection, and breathe. Ready, commence. Open, close, single whip to the right. Stepping right for waving hands. Open, close, and single whip to the left. Waving hands left. Open, close, brush knee. Play the lute. And parry and punch. Lock and close. And push the mountain. Open, close, brush knee right. Play the lute. Parry and punch. Lock and close. And push the mountain. Open, close, and form.
Nice. Very nice. Thank you. Thanks for leading, Terry. I saw all kinds of wonderful things ranging from, we've got several people who are very new, just really recently trained in this program, and to people who have been not teaching for a while. And so I'm heartened. Everything looks, it's there, but it's so always we can improve, right? So I'm happy about that. So for some, I just want to, just bring about ease and get the wind up under your wings. If you don't know your extended 6 comfortably yet, that's okay. Keep practicing, because new participants, you're not going to bring them into extended 6 anytime really soon. But I also want to say, for some of you, it looks like at some point you're kind of following along. Extended 6 it's easy to kind of think, well, I got it to the left and then I'll just run it to the right. but it's no small feat for the brain, is it? So take your time to re-engineer, if you will, each move one by one. Because for some, what I see, and it's normal, we don't, we get certified, we don't have to show extended 6 to the right, any level of competence. You do for recertification. And I'm looking for something beyond just kind of following along. It is because you really, the moves start to kind of not be integrated going to the right on extended 6 if we haven't taken the time to learn each one of them. Because I mean, it's really different, especially brush knee, isn't it? It's no small thing. Yeah. So if it's not easy, that's okay. And it certainly means there's a big opportunity there for you in balance and harmony in your brain and your body working together. And then you also have empathy for other people who won't pick it up as easily or wave hands or whatever. But yeah, take the time to break those movements down again. So I would like to just bring a little attention to the brush knee for a number of reasons. And one of them being that we teach it with some modified stepping. And then you start to see with TCA2 that modified stepping starts to kind of go away if you're looking at the DVD, and then by Sun 73 it has gone away. And it's always an option to use the modifications because there will be people who, for all kinds of reasons, may need it. It could include because inner ear challenges and they need for their balance. But we want to be really clear about how to offer the modifications, because I see that often happens as the instructor has forgotten about that, and then they're going on into TCA2 and 73 and whatnot, and they're only teaching the modifications, and people would have been able to do more, but also otherwise maybe it's never taught the modifications. And then as you get into more complex forms, it's really hard for people to do them. Also, I've already introduced in single whip this idea of, and throughout the warm-ups, when you're really starting to pay attention to moving around your central axis line and paying attention to weight transfer being sinking down into the support leg rather than leaning or pushing a hip out or any of that, is it starts to take you into how can you feel the whole body working together from center. I think of it like a starfish in a way. If you've ever observed a starfish, there's the, from the center and then all the appendages, and it's often that there are 5. So there's your neck, head, and your arms, your legs. It's all working together from center. And so you just start to be aware of that and noticing, and you're breathing. And by the way, people have been with me at different times. We don't have time here to go through Dantian breathing. I had to think about where I could pull, because we taught it and seated, maybe pull his video out. But if you want to really go through it, Dr. Lamb spends an hour plus in the Tai Chi for Rehabilitation program, and it happens to be in the first lesson. And if you didn't already know this, the first lesson of all his programs is on YouTube for free. So even if you don't plan on teaching Tai Chi for Rehabilitation, how we breathe in Tai Chi is really well covered, and it's valuable. And if that's something we want to do further too, let me know that after this training, because it's really, really important. And I'd actually love to do a whole session where then we bring it into every form, like we explore, well, how does that actually work? Because people often ask, when should you breathe? And if you start telling people in, out, in, out, in, out, it gets very mechanical, and you're losing what the opportunity is for the whole body movement and the roundness, and it just becomes in the head. And all Tai Chi forms actually have potential to be anything at any moment to change. So to start telling people when to breathe in, when to breathe out is not necessarily even correct. Or it might be under this condition, not that one. And that's taking you into some very deep Tai Chi, which then you're, like, when are you going to get there with that? It takes a lot of time. So, but there's just really learning how to do the Dantian breathing. So go on YouTube, TCR, the first lesson, and that can get you there. And then it's something we can continue to explore as well. All right. So what I want to touch on with the brush knee, I like to, you can teach it with the footwork, you can teach it with the hands, and then tie it all together. And some of you have been with me enough times, this probably, you may already have it. But I like to teach Tai Chi walking as a way to break it up during classes, so we're not just standing. And if you just think about all the different kinds of steps we do throughout these forms, you can mix those into your classes, right? Starting just with basic walking. So I've got to just, you know, get a side video out to you on that, because we could spend the rest of our time on it. But there are ways then to have people ready for, I'm going to come sideways at you first, with single or with brush knee. I like to teach it in 3 parts this way. One is that we're practicing getting our weight all the way into the left leg so we can turn on the right heel and turn the toes in. Okay, so I'm going to show you that here, because it's, you know, it's different if we're in the classroom, but the movement is that we're turning the right palm up while we're turning the right foot in. I didn't start turning yet, right? Even though we know this is a movement we're going to turn. So my palm, in this case, the left, right is where my bracelets are, okay? Do you see there's a symmetry in this movement already? And so when you've already got people getting used to this central axis line, right, they're not going to torque and twist their body by the time they're making this turn. So I really like to just teach it from the get-go in 3 parts where we're integrating the upper and the lower body. Okay, now one of the modifications starts right from the beginning. If you have participants whose feet are really close together, you could teach, instead of turning, see how I'm going to kick myself if I do that, turning my foot in, you could put the weight on the front of the foot and turn the heel out. That actually then, when weight transfer happens, starts to turn the body. So some people will teach it that way. Honestly, my preference is don't go into extended 6 until you've helped people take a wider stance, because it's good for falls prevention. And then if you have certain individuals that for whatever reason that's not possible, to take what is your natural Tai Chi stance, is your feet under hips, under shoulders, hips relaxed, knees are relaxed. That is a powerful stance for life. So I prefer to get people comfortable. Then I don't need to modify this. Okay, but then you want to know you have it to offer. For whatever reason, someone's going to still have to have a narrower stance. And so if the feet are really still too close, turn the heel out. Okay, but what we're really aiming for is the heel is on the ground and we're turning the front of the foot in. Now, if we've been really teaching our warm-ups well, people should be comfortable with that ankle movements, right? There's no weight when you're moving that foot, whether it's turning it in or heel is turning out. And that way you can hold your alignment. So I emphasize these things because often the problems that crop up, and including pains and discomfort, is because we're trying to take people into movements before they're comfortable with basics and with the basic 6. And basics includes the warm-ups and cool downs and being in the body and breathing. Right? So there's no rush. Okay, so when we're turning the foot in is where I'm going to go for now. The right palm's also turning up. See, I don't have to contort my body for that to happen when I'm comfortable in my support leg. So my right hand is up, it's right out in front of me. It's very comfortable. And my palm of the left hand's facing the inner elbow. Remember, Dr. Lamb talks about all these energy points, the palms, the wrists, the elbows, okay? So there's one, okay? So I'm just gonna watch for right now, but let's do that together 3 times. And you can teach it going right back to the DVD, but this is a way that I like to at least let you know. That's part 1 of the form. And it's often kind kind of skipped when I'm watching people. So we're just playing with that, just that bit. So you can see it's comfortable, it's easy. Okay. One of the ways that when I was first learning and playing around, it's like when I never could do this. My baby was too huge from the minute she was born. Little baby right here, like you just, you know, the little back of its head is there, cradled in your hand. It's just right out in front of you. You can look at it. All right. So it looks like you're getting that just fine, playing around with that. So part two, bear with me, because again, just not being in person, I've got to be a little more detailed here. So after that part one, now part two, I'm going to let my weight come into my right leg. If I allow this idea we've been playing with, my weight transfer is already going to start to turn my body. And then much like we explored a little on single whip, is weight being off my left foot, it'll naturally get turned, which means heel will turn in. The front of my foot will naturally rotate. Did that happen for you? Then we'll get to the upper body. We do part one, and as we transfer the weight into the right, see if it's creating a circular kind of movement. So it already started to turn my body toward the corner. We haven't finished the turn yet. That's why I like to share this about the whole body way to do the move. So I'm still looking straight ahead, if you will. I transfer my weight into the right leg, and this allows not just the body to turn, but this beginning of letting the hands separate. It just will happen if you're letting yourself be relaxed. Okay. And then the modification piece of it is that we invite you to teach to bring the front of that left foot in toward the right arch of the foot, and then separate the feet. And you'll feel the hands are slightly separating, but it's more like just lengthening out through the joints. So I'm still facing the corner. My left hand still in front of my body. My right arm has not, it's not ever really going to fully extend, but there's just a lengthening. Okay. This is often when I'm reviewing with people and how they're teaching it, they're skipping the second part, and the turn just happens, and it's too fast for participants. So the footwork is that I'm turning right toes in, weight goes into the right leg. I'm allowing my front of my left foot to pivot, if you will, draw it in, and then step across. This matters for our participants, so we're not hurting the knee, twisting the back, because if they try to step across without bringing the foot in, often what happens is they just bring it across a little bit. Now they're still going to be facing the corner, whereas they draw the foot in and then step the foot across. Now when they do the third part and transfer weight, they'll be where we've achieved turning, and they're not pulling their knee. Okay. Does it make sense that bringing your foot in and then stepping across is so different than that I've let myself rotate, I'm at the corner, but then stepping across, I may not have ability, I may not have the strength to get over to where I need to be. Okay. So we've got part one where we're still looking at our whatever was our front wall, and part two, we've let the front of the left foot pivot, we draw it in toward the right arch, so that when we just swing it across a little bit, the hands are separating, but we haven't overextended ourselves. Okay, and I'm still a little bit where my torso, I'm still at the diagonal. We're not going to hang out there to do the third part, but let me see first the first two parts, and I want to see if we're getting the idea of it. Just making it your own, run through it. All right. we're playing with it a little bit here. Let me, because we don't have loads of time, let me show you from this angle. My part 1, 2, my arm is not straight, but it's come, my right arm, it's come from being in front of me to relatively now at my side. It's still comfortable. It's not straight. Never is an arm straight in Tai Chi. Right? That's where I'm at, and I'm still relatively facing the corner a little bit. Okay. So there's this talk as we go into the third part about throwing a baseball or something, and I don't teach that way because so many people throw, like they say, the girl way, but we don't bring the arm way behind us. All we really have to do, go this way now, is we've got our hand, the left hand at about the solar plexus. The right arm is just, it's kind of comfortably out at our side. All you really have to do is sink your elbow as you're transferring weight into the left leg and let that turn your body, and then we'll follow step. So by the time we've done the follow step, here's from part 2 into part 3, the weight transfer, when we allow it, will naturally turn the body and allow the hands to fall into position. So the right palm should be generally like you're patting the head of a tall dog. Sorry, left palm, I think I just said right. And then the right is going to be that, hey, stop that, let's be friends. And again, it's that place where your fingertips would be kind of below your chin height and in front of your shoulder, right? Not way out, not close in at your body. And as always, follow step is if you ran your rear foot across, you wouldn't kick your forward foot. It'll be turned out just a little bit because it just naturally, when it lands, the front of the foot just turned out a little bit. And if you look down, you've got a couple of fist widths. We want to make sure when we're delivering follow steps that we're not right behind our other foot. It becomes super important in parry and punch because when we start stepping, we don't want to trip ourselves, right? Making sure there's always a channel in between, okay? So that third part, coming back to our brush knee, the first part, we're sort of facing our front wall, wherever we started. The second part is the modification of bringing the foot in, so it's easy to swing it across and the hands have separated. The third part is when you pour the weight from the right leg into the left leg, let it also rotate you. We've been playing with that even in our warm-ups this morning, knee warm-ups, right? When we turned our feet out. But by the third part, then we just sink the elbow and allow the left hand to come across. That's the brush knee part. Okay. So in reviewing the DVD, and then when you come back to this, you can think about, maybe you teach the hands, you teach the feet, but at some point integrate it by breaking it down. And as always, one thing at a time, follow me 3 times, then you're going to watch and see what you've got. We just don't have time to go through all of that right now, but I'm going to just do it front facing and see what you see from open and close. 1, 2, that's me being at the corner. 3, turning. Okay. Always it's an option to let people step and step and step and step and step as many times as they need to feel comfortable. But I'm just bringing this up to make the point that if I were a fly on the wall, I wouldn't see you just teaching it that way. And that's all, right? Is that you want to know, yes, you can let people have options because this can be very disconcerting for people for many different reasons, this making a turn. Right? So we want to give them options. But what we strive for your participants who are keen and they're getting stronger and all that, is helping them get this ability to just step straight across, follow step, so that by part 2, they would be able to do that and not always have to do the modification. It's always okay to do the modification, but I would like you to be thinking about how do you advance, if you haven't yet, into that footwork with ease. Like it's comfortable, it supports your alignment, and how do you get the arms and the legs and your head too, so you're not twisting, not coming out of alignment, that everything is working together. Because that's part of what happens then, of how you can even do this exercise, change directions, because for those who aren't yet comfortable with your extended 6, that's one of the drills you can do. Because I remember even when I was first learning Sun style, it's the only form that, or style, that really has you switching like that, is and changing directions is it's not easy to go both directions. It took me to another place too. All right, so that's really something to practice and play around with. And for your participants too, that can be, okay, we are doing extended 6 both directions, but we're not comfortable with it. It's just, you can just go from side to side, where you can go open and close hands. And whether you're doing modified footwork or you're taking it to the next level, right? You could do open and close hands. And just keep going back and forth. And then there's lots of movement going on, and people can start to get more comfortable, because it takes the brain and the body a while to really connect in. Okay, so let me take a peek at just the brush knee, playing around with it. So if it all fell apart because of what we're doing right now, good. That means you're taking on something new and you're learning. So just playing around with it. I'm just watching to see mostly if I've conveyed more or less what I'm attempting to convey. Just play with it a little bit, maybe even want to go both directions, and I'm watching. Making sure your follow step arrives, then the hands finish. Different than, oh, my hands are already complete and then I'll step. Follow step and then the arms will finish. All right, good. So I see lots of different things going on there that are encouraging to me that you're playing with it. So the final thing, just because you'll get to review this, is that as we get more comfortable with integrating, so we've got 1, we've got 2, third part. Often what I see is 2 different things. With the lower hand, we start focusing so much on what the right arm is doing, or when we're going to the right, it'd be the left arm, is paying attention to what the lower hand is doing, in this case, the left hand, that it's here. And we didn't already go with it, brushing the knee, or that we make sure by the time we finish that we actually let it brush, right? So part 2 is it's more or less the hands have started to separate, it's here. By part 3, yeah. So that's often, like a next place. It's like, it's easy to focus on that upper arm, the yang arm. What's the yin arm doing? This is all part of how do we play with wholeness of our being. And it's not easy, but that's, it's all an opportunity for your brain to integrate. Okay, so I saw lots of nice progress there. I will say I was delighted to see parry and punch looking so well organized when you just did that run through, because for many of you, I wouldn't have expected that given the newness or the time we've had off. So it is top of the hour, but I'm curious if you'd all like to run through again one more time, basic, extended, and then we'll cool down. Yeah, all right. So It's really hard to watch anybody anyway, but Judy, I wonder if you'd like to lead, and yeah, I'll just go ahead and watch, then I get to share some final points. Just have fun with this. It's just a practice for yourself, and enjoy being in this group and playing around. So Judy, we need to unmute you. Eileen, maybe you can do that. I think Eileen can do it for you, maybe. Okay, all right, thanks. So just for tempo, Judy will call out the names of the forms and have fun with it. All right, Judy, it looks like everybody's set.
Okay, so settle yourself. And we'll begin with the commencement form. Open hands, close hands, single whip right. Transition into wave hands and clouds right. Open hands, close hands, single whip left, transition, wave hands and clouds left. Open hands, close hands, brush knee to the left. Play the lute. Parry, parry, and punch. Block and close. Push the mountain. Open hands, close hands, brush knee to the right. Play the lute. Parry, parry, and punch. Block and close. Push the mountain. Open hands. Close hands. Close in Tai Chi.
Nice. Thank you. Very good. I think we were Rachel. She was going along beautifully, and then I looked and I went, oh, she's frozen there. So hopefully she can still hear us at least. Very nice. I'm going to make one observation because I'm watching really nice things happening. It's just a cadence thing, and because you'll be able to review this is in wave hands. If it's not something you've thought about for a while, or maybe haven't heard before, is once we've done transition, which I like to teach first, we switch, transfer weight, step, switch hands, transfer weight, step, switch hands, transfer weight, step, switch. Okay, that's the cadence to it. It eventually becomes more round. When you're teaching TCA, until participants and yourself are getting more of these things we've started playing with today, or for some of you, it's maybe review of what starts to make it round, is that TCA is very linear. We're going side to side. You know, eventually we start to turn, but still there's not going to all of the directions. We start to get that in TCA too. And it's not only that we want to take time so people have their balance and that they can stay upright and stay vertical, keep all of their alignment, but we want to have more of this whole body integration happening. So it sometimes people benefit from you counting a sort of what are the steps, but for other people that starts to become, then they're like counting and it becomes really chunky. But whatever it is in the beginning, so you can get more comfort for people and confidence into the body, then you start going a little bit deeper. But watch for, sometimes these deeper ideas make all the difference in the world. And if it feels comfortable to you to convey it, it might just help you bring the group along more easily and confident and competently anyway. So wave hands, I was just seeing that across the room a little bit of sort of switching, how do I want to say, like switch and then, oh, now I have to get myself there, but what was I seeing? So we step, switch, transfer weight, step, switch, transfer weight, step, switch. If we're already switching the hands and then we step, it's okay, but eventually this stuff starts to show up where, oh, we're trying to move through the forms with some continuous flow and it doesn't quite work. It's because for another lesson is, how do we deliver the Sun style follow step? And it's, in a way, it's the same even out to the side, because this, we lower the front of the foot, the whole foot is the way we place the feet in Sun style has so much to do with then how does the rest of the form express itself. So that would be a fun, another going deeper kind of lesson as well. All right. So I'm going to quick change my view so I can see all of you again. So right now I'm only seeing a few of you. So you'll have that to just think about. And a reminder again, to film yourself. Set up your phone somewhere at an angle that you can see is true. It's not looking up or down, because then it's hard to see what your hands are doing. But shoulders staying relaxed, so the hands are just below the chin with the fingers, not coming up too high. Some of you, I'm seeing the shoulder is actually coming up. And you'll know, if you're paying attention to your body, you'll know because you can feel it. But I can assure you, even if your hands and your shoulders are relaxed, your hands are the right height, you're going to see other people doing other things. And so I bring this awareness so you can watch for it, and then just a couple of you, the hands really are up too high still. And we want to just, it's just really natural. It's like you hang loose and then the elbows they're not really heavy. We don't want to feel like there's heaviness, but the idea is there are little fishing weights holding them down so that we don't end up lifting them, and also that there's space, right? My upper arm is not at the side of my body. It's a slightly bit forward. There's a little space under the armpits, right? Same with commencement form. And then I come back for my open and close hands. This is that my shoulders are relaxed and my elbows are doing what they do. They're really hinging. And so we can, even here, I let my elbows hinge. I let my shoulders, elbows, wrists go out. And then I sink my elbows and just listen for, where's this comfortable place, right? Not here, it's not way out here. I've done my commencement movement, sinking the elbows. Where does that feel strong to go to the next? There's a place, if you're listening for it, in this sense of whole bodiness, that your body, there's agility, right? There's no agility when I'm in too close or my shoulders are too tight, right? It's not if I've reached out too far. Where's that place that everything I do feels aligned and and powerful, right? But it's, you think about one thing at a time and bring it into your practice and get comfortable, and then another. And so it's through the principles, it's different ideas we've played with here. When one is comfortable, now you add another thing. So you can't think about it all at once. But eventually then you're listening for, with your smooth, continuous flowing movements, is that everything is working together. Your mental focus, soft mental focus, your breathing, and all the parts of your body in the movements. And that will help people even to experience that principle of Jing, and for yourself, right? That sense of tranquility, serenity, inner peace, and calm. So let's take that idea into our warm-ups, not thinking about them. We know those, cool downs, we know the cool downs, and just enjoying, whether for our participants, what we're modeling is that the foot stays on the floor, or do we like getting a little more movement, a little more strengthening with weight transfers? We're sitting into the support leg, but again, your group may initially need to keep foot on the floor. Really just nice and easy, feeling peaceful, breathing deeply in and out. The second cool down, whether you choose to tense and release with the scrunching up, or you could lengthening my toes. I'm lengthening my fingers, my neck, and everything in between, space for all my joints, feeling the tension and then let go. So the idea with this, it's the yang and the yin feeling. They don't exist one without the other. This is the whole point in all of our movements. Something goes up, something goes down, something forward, something else going back. So as you do this third one, think about how you could tense up your whole body again, whether now your participants might prefer lengthening versus scrunching. You want these options, especially for people with arthritis. Tensing the entire body, not the shoulders up, but feeling like the muscles are squeezing onto the bones, and then fully letting go and feel the contrast, complete relaxation. Let's do one more. Feeling the muscles, toes, the muscles on your feet, your toes, and your fingers, your face even, and then let go. This is nice. A nice way to feel the contrast of yin and yang. And then let's gather the earth chi and the heaven chi. Pour it all in as you exhale. And again, to the extent that it looks like the body's going up and down, it's not from the knees. I'm sitting, I've lowered down onto my skinny horse. And as I'm inhaling, I'm floating up as if I'm in the water. And I'm gathering chi. And as I exhale, that would let me sink down into the water, or I sink down onto my skinny horse. And once more, really just bringing up our vitality as we bring down the thinking mind. We've got lots of new stuff we just took on, but let it just wash down right now and come down into your center, being at home in your power center, in your lower belly. And our Tai Chi salute, like the power of the right fist, strength, inner strength. That left hand, fingers are close together. Friendship, the thumb tucked in, humility that come together. Unity, honor, and respect. Thank you, one and all, our sense of community. Thank you, thank you. So I'm going to say that we'll officially close this session. Give me a few days and I will get this video to you so you can review. And our facilitators, we always stay on and sort of debrief afterwards. So we're here if you have something you'd like to ask, and otherwise you are free to go, and send you off with many blessings. I am so grateful for you being able to teach in person, online, whatever you can, and that you can play and practice for yourself. The world needs us.
Thank
Sharing
you.
this.
Thank you all so much.
So yeah, feel free to come
thank
on,
you.
Mike. So good to see all of you, and hope to see you again soon. thanks to our dear facilitators, Terry, Judy, and Eileen.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.